Good morning. Uh, I forgot to pre-schedule the meeting. Thank you. I had thought about not doing it, but then I was like, nah, I got to. So here I am. Good morning. I think it's a good morning. Nah, so far it's been okay. Anyways, if you're new here, welcome. It's an AA meeting, so please do not do any judgment in the chat. Don't harass people that are in the chat. After all, not everyone that comes to the live meetings is the recovering alcoholic. They might be here to help a family member or a friend, or just simply here to support my channel. So thank you for being here. Really, of course, you gotta hear the dog. I'm Sandra. I'm an alcoholic. Good morning, Dyson's Crazy Adventures. Thank you for being here. I rushed on because I was gonna be late. So let's go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer and get into Dr. Bob's story. It's gonna be quite different than what we're used to reading, but it is in the big book. So if you have a big book, follow along. I do put in the description the page and the story and what book. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the things that I can, and knowing the difference. I think I skipped lunch. Anyways, I'm tired. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So as I said, we're in Dr. Bob's story. I'm going to go ahead and read the pages before that because this is personal stories, how 42 alcoholics recovered, it looks like a B in the book, sorry guys, from their malady. Beginning with the story of Dr. Bob, co-founder of AA, there are here presented 3 groups of personal histories. 1. Pioneers of AA. This group of 10 stories shows that sobriety in AA can be lasting. 2. They stopped in time. 17 stories may help you decide whether you are alcoholic, also whether AA is for you. Part 3. They lost nearly all. Those who believe their drinking to be hopeless may again find hope in these 15 impressive tales. So we're in part 1, Pioneers of AA. Dr. Bob and the 9 men and women who here tell their stories were among the early members of AA's first group. All 10 have now passed away of natural causes, having maintained complete sobriety. Today, hundreds of additional AA members can be found who have had no relapse for more than 30 years. All these, then, are pioneers of AA. They bear witness that release from alcoholism can really be permanent. So Dr. Bob's nightmare. A co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, the birth of our society dates from his first day of permanent sobriety, June 10th, 1935, to 1950, the year of his death. He carried the AA message to more than 5,000 alcoholic men and women, and to all these he gave his medical service without thought of change. In this prodigy of service, he was well assisted by Sister Ingenta at St. Thomas Hospital in Akron, Ohio, one of the greatest friends our fellowship will ever know. I was born in a small New England village of about 7,000 souls. The general moral standard was, as I recall it, far above the average. No beer or liquor was sold in the neighborhood, except at the state liquor agency, where perhaps one might produce a pint if he could conceive the agent that he really needed it. Without this proof, the expectant purchaser would be forced to depart empty-handed, with none of what I later came to believe was the great panacea for all human ills. Men who had liquor shipped in from Boston or New York by express were looked upon with great distrust and disfavor by most of the good townspeople. The town was well supplied with churches and schools in which I pursued my early education activities. My father was a professional man of recognized ability, and both my father and mother were most active in church affairs. Both father and mother were considerably above the average in intelligence. Unfortunately for me, I was the only child, which perhaps endangered the selfishness which played such an important part in bringing on my alcoholism. From childhood through high school, I was more or less forced to go to church, Sunday school, and evening service, Monday night Christian endeavors. and sometimes to Wednesday evening prayer meeting. This had the effect of making me resolve that when I was free from parental domination, I would never again darken the door of a church. This was resolution I kept steadfastly for the next 40 years, except when circumstances made it seem unwise to be absent myself. After high school came 4 years in one of the best colleges in the country, where drinking seemed to be a major extracurricular activity. Almost everyone seemed to do it. I did it more and more and had lots of fun without much grief, either physical or financial. I seemed to be able to snap back the next morning better than most of my fellow drinkers, who were cursed or perhaps blessed with a great deal of morning after nausea. Never once in my life have I had a headache, which fact leads me to believe that I was an alcoholic almost from the start. My whole life seemed to be centered around doing what I wanted to do, without regard for the rights, wishes, and privileges of anyone else. A state of mind which became more and more prominent as the years passed. I was graduated summa cum laude in the eyes of the drinking fraternity, but not in the eyes of the dean. The next 3 years I spent in Boston, Chicago, and Montreal in the employ of a large manufacturing concern, selling railway supplies, gas engines of all sorts, and many other items of heavy hardware. During these years I drank as much as my purse permitted, still without paying too great a penalty, although I was beginning to have morning jitters at times. I lost only a half day's work during these 3 years. My next move was to take up the study of medicine, entering one of the largest universities in the country. There I took up the business of drinking with much greater earnestness than I had previously shown. On account of my enormous capacity for beer, I was elected to membership in one of the drinking societies and soon became one of the leading spirits. Many mornings I have gone to class and even though fully prepared would turn and walk back to the fraternity house because of my jitters, not daring to enter the classroom for fear of making a scene should I be called on for recitation. This went from bad to worse until sophomore spring when, after a prolonged period of drinking, I made up my mind that I could not complete my course, so I packed my grip and went south to spend a month on a large farm owned by a friend of mine. When I got when I got the fog out of my brain, I decided that quitting school was very foolish and that I had better return and continue my work. When I reached school, I discovered the fraternity had other ideas on the subject. After much argument, they allowed me to return and take my exams, all of which I passed credibly, but they were much disgusted and told me they would attempt to struggle along without my presence. After many painful discussions, they finally gave me my credits, and I migrated to another of the leading universities of the country and entered as a junior that fall. Hey Ava, there my drinking became so much worse that the boys in the fraternity house where I lived felt forced to send for my father, who made a long journey in the vain endeavors to get me straightened around. This had little effect, however, for I kept on drinking and used a great deal more hard liquor than in former years. Coming up to final exams, I went on a particularly strenuous spree. When I went in to write the examinations, my hand trembled so I could not hold a pencil. I passed in at least three absolutely blank books. I was, of course, soon on the carpet, and the upshot was that I had to go back for two more quarters and remain absolutely dry if I wished to graduate. This I did, and proved myself satisfactory to the faculty, both in deportment and scholarly. I conducted myself so creditably that I was able to secure a much coveted internship in a western city where I spent 2 years. During these 2 years, I was kept so busy that I hardly left the hospital at all. Consequently, I could not get into any trouble. When those 2 years were up, I opened an office downtown. I had some money all the time in the world and considerably considerable stomach trouble. I soon discovered that a couple of drinks would alleviate my gastric distress, at least for a few hours at a time. So it was not at all difficult for me to return to my former excessive indulgence. By this time I was beginning to pay very dearly physically, and in hope of relief voluntarily incarcerated myself at least a dozen times in one of the local sanitariums. I was between Sicily and Chabayas now because if I did not drink, my stomach tortured me, and if I did, my nerves did the same thing. After 3 years of this, I wound up in the local hospital where they attempted to help me, but I would get my friends to smuggle me a quart, or I would steal the alcohol about the building so that I got rapidly worse. Finally, father had to send a doctor out from my hometown, who managed to get me back there in some way, and I was in bed about 2 months before I could venture out of the house. I stayed about town a couple of months more and then returned to resume my practice. I think I must have been thoroughly scared by what had happened, or by the doctor, or probably both, so that I did not touch a drink again until the country went dry. With the passing of Elizabeth, with the passing of the 18th Amendment, I felt quite safe. I knew everyone would buy a few bottles or cases of liquor as their expenditure permitted, and that it would soon be gone. Therefore, it would be no great difference even if I should do some drinking. At that time, I was not aware of the almost unlimited supply the government made it possible for us doctors to obtain. Neither had I any knowledge of the bootlegger who soon appeared on the horizon. I drank with moderation at first, but it took me only a relative short time to drift back into the old habits, which had wound up so dissatisfactory before. During the next few years, I developed two distinct phobias. One was the fear of not sleeping, and the other was the fear of running out of liquor. Not being a man of means, I knew that if I did not stay sober enough to earn money, I would run out of liquor. Most of the time, therefore, I did not take the morning drink, which I craved so badly, but instead would fill up on large doses of sedative to quiet the jitters, which distressed me terribly. Occasionally I would yield to the morning craving, but if I did, I would be only a few hours before I would be quite unfit for work. This would lessen my chances of smuggling some home that evening, which in turn would mean a night of futile tossing around in bed, followed by a morning of unbearable jitters. During the subsequent 15 years, I had sense enough never to go to the hospital if I had been drinking, and very seldom I did. I received patients. I would sometimes hide out in one of the clubs of which I was a member, and had the habit at times to at times of registering at a hotel under a fictitious name. But my friends usually found me, and I would go home if they promised that I should not be scolded. I'm gonna stop there. Um, I hated the morning jitters. I hated it. But that's part of plugging my. Uh, Let me find my cord, guys. That's not it. There it is. The Chromebook is dead, so I got to plug it in. Anyways, um, those morning jitters are not fun at all. I hated that, and that was the worst part of it all. That and you thinking that you're sleeping, when in reality you're not sleeping. You passed out for a little bit, and you're still thinking about that alcohol. I don't understand how it all worked, but that's what happened to me. I started off by drink here and there with my friends as a teenager. Then I would drink here and there after I turned 21. I had kids to take care of, so I didn't go out all the time. And that was in my 20s. And then in my 30s, 30 was a bad time of my life. That's when I actually became that alcoholic part of myself that I tried to say no, never, because I had watched and learned that my father was an alcoholic. And for him, I say was is because he passed on. He never got sober. So there's that also. Um, some people don't make it, but a lot of us do. And by sharing the AA way that I have learned here online to you guys, it helps me to stay sober and it helps me to help others. Um, Being a recovering alcoholic has made me have my voice, and I'm not scared to say I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I'm not scared to say that I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I can't say I'll still be sober tomorrow because we're not guaranteed that. I can only go for today. That's what we're taught in AA is don't don't hold yourself too far out because you never know what the next day will bring. We only have the 24 hours, and even then, we're not guaranteed that. And I'm meaning in sobriety. But we have to hold ourselves accountable to making that mistake. And I admit I had made that mistake before I got to AA. So I know the fact that it's true. And I'm just glad that I got sober when I got sober, and I have the fellowship that I can rely on. I have my sponsor that I can call. I have my family who understands the struggle that me and my sister have gone through. Um, we have other family members that are going through it that haven't gotten that aha, I need to quit, or maybe they have and they haven't made the choice to actually cut it loose, say no more. And the only thing that we can do for that is to pray for them. We can't make them get the help. We can't force them to do anything. All we can do is just make the suggestion and go about our business. We can't. And when you learn from AA, you also learn that you don't turn someone away. If they come to you with a question about becoming sober, answer it to the best as you can. Even if you're just trying to share what you've learned from here, from my story, and sharing it with somebody that you know and love, you never know, it might help that person in the long run. I mean, sharing it loudly helps. I have all of you guys that come here and listen and have said that it's a great thing and that what I'm doing is helping people, and that's all I want. That's all I could ever ask for is for my voice to help that next person to make that decision to get sober and stay sober, because this it just works. It works, and I'm living proof that it works. And I'm on the long haul. My sobriety is next month. It's my birthday, and it's number 10. I don't think I'd be here without without the help of a sponsor or however many sponsors you want. Um, Friends that I can call and say, hey, I'm struggling right now and this is what I'm struggling with. I've made friends here on YouTube that understand the struggle that it is to be a recovering alcoholic. They may not be an alcoholic, but they know from watching and listening that this is real. I'm not. I don't sugarcoat my sobriety, how I got here, what it was like before I got here. It's been a long road, and it sure has not been easy. Like, I got an argument with the neighbor the other day, and now I need to say I'm sorry because you know I should have just kept my mouth shut. But I gotta make amends sometime. I don't know when. And believe me, I'll be praying for her too. Because after all, that's what we're taught here in AA is to make your amends. I've learned how to do that. I mean, I got an argument with my sister the other day, and it took me about an hour, and I called her. Yeah, we're neighbors, but we still call each other. We still text each other. But I had to text her and say I was sorry. And then I called her and I said, this is what it made me feel and all of that. And it just makes it makes it better to where I'm not holding that grudge against my sister or anyone else that I shouldn't be. Good morning, band girl. Hi, Riza. But sobriety it's work every day. It I'm not gonna say it's easy because it's not. I know it's not easy. There's days that you just want to say and just lay there. Well, I have a lot of those days, but um, also I had a problem at work, and I was just ready to say I'm done with it all. I'm still working. There are people there that I was working with before, so that makes it a little easier. Thank you all for coming here and being part of my meeting. And I know I'm talking to you guys. I can't see you, but I'm pretty proud of being able to do this and help others in a daily life thing. I'm thinking about changing Sunday AA to Saturday AA because Sundays I don't work until evening, but it is crazy to get do AA and then go to work afterward because I'm constantly thinking about the meeting and did I say the right things and am I helping someone and all of that. It's just my brain keeps going, and it don't want to shut up when I'm trying to do my work. It's distracting in a good way, but I still need to get my work done. But um, yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can ask them, and I can answer them to the best of my ability. But yeah, I remember those jitter days and having no money for that drink. So you just lay there and you have the shakes. And I didn't like it. Um, and that's the part that you're trying to get that drink to relax. And then once you take that first one, you're not gonna stop. And it's just it's a battle in your own mind, and you gotta get out of that. It's it's hard. I mean, I don't dream about the alcohol anymore. Um, Now I'm just dreaming about cigarettes. I quit smoking 7 months ago, so I'm still having the cravings, but every time I smell one, it makes me want to gag, which is what the medication is supposed to do. So, and I haven't been taking that for a month now. Oh, you're packing, listening and packing. Hope you're going somewhere fun and nice. Um, but yeah. Anyways, um, I guess I'm going to go ahead and read the daily reflection and then say the serenity prayer and let you guys go on your way for the day. I have an app of the daily reflections on my phone. It has all kinds of other things attached in the app. Like it's got an audio book. It's got the big book. It's got the daily reflections book. It's got the steps and traditions book, and it also has the little what's it called, stories in the magazine that we get. Anyway, October 13th. Thank you, Van Girl. I appreciate that. Un- Unremitting inventories. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Alcoholics Anonymous, page 84. The immediate admission of wrong thoughts or actions is a tough task for most human beings, but for recovering alcoholics like me, it is difficult because my propensity towards ego, fear, and pride. The freedom of AA's program offers me more abundant when through unremitting inventories of myself. I admit, acknowledge, and accept responsibility for my wrongdoing. It is possible then for me to grow into a deeper and better understanding of humility. My willingness to admit when the Fault is mine facilitates the progression of my growth and helps me to become more understanding and helpful to others. How true is that? Anyways, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sorry I messed it up in the morning, or in the beginning. Have a great day and see you in the chats later on. Bye, guys. Be safe out there and stay sober.